Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Advantage Learning Made Easy. In this video, we are going to discuss direct and indirect tax subject of MCOM Part 2, specifically Chapter 1, that is Introduction. The content of this video include Introduction to Income Tax Act 1961 and the basic concepts of the Act, specifically with reference to Section 1 to Section 4 of the Act. So let us begin. Introduction to Income Tax Act 1961. As you all know that Constitution of India is the main document basis which any legislation is introduced in India. Under entry 82 of Schedule 7 to the Constitution of India, the central government is empowered to levy tax on income other than agricultural income in India. Accordingly, the Parliament enacted the Income Tax Act 1961, which we are going to refer as the Act in the subsequent slides, to provide for the scope and machinery for levy and collection of income tax in India. The Act is supported by Income Tax Rules 1962 and several subordinate rules and regulations. Further, the Central Board of Direct Taxes, commonly known as CBDT, and the Ministry of Finance, Government of India, issue circulars and notifications from time to time dealing with various aspects of levy of income tax. Moving to the next topic, basic concepts. To give you all a background, every act is divided into various sections. Further, every section is divided into various subsections. As a matter of fact, every act, the first section of every act specifies the name of the act, the areas or the jurisdictions where the act will be applicable, and the date from which the act will be applicable. Further, Section 2 of every act defines the terms which are used in the act. Accordingly, Section 1 of the Indian Income Tax Act defines the act to be called as the Income Tax Act 1961. Further, it provides that such act would extend to whole of India. Lastly, it shall come into force on the first day of April 1962. Section 2 of the Income Tax Act 1961 provides for various definitions for the terms used in the Act. We would not be discussing the definitions in detail, but we would be discussing as and when we come across those terms. Now, before discussing Section 3, we would discuss Section 4. Section 4 is the main charging section of the Indian Income Tax Act because it answers the question like who will be taxed, when will be taxed, and on what the person will be taxed. A reading of Section 4 mentions that the income tax is a tax on total income of a person who is also called as the assessee of the previous year relevant to the assessment year at the rates prescribed in the relevant Finance Act. So as to divide the section in order for ease of understanding. So income tax is a tax which is to be levied on total income of whom? Of a person. This person is also called as an assessee. And when is it going to be taxed? It is going to be taxed in the previous year, which is relevant to the assessment year. We will be discussing all these terms in detail in the subsequent slides. So first of all, tax on whom? So tax on whom? It is the person on which tax is to be levied. For this purpose, the Indian Income Tax Act defines person under section 2, subsection 31. Person includes individual, HUFs, company, firm, association of person, body of individuals whether incorporated or not, local authority, artificial jurisdictional person not falling within any of the preceding categories. Now, individuals. Individuals are living persons of blood and flesh. For example, Ram, Shyam, Gopal, or any other living human being is known as an individual. Hindu undivided family. Hindu undivided families are Hindu joint families which are recognized as separate tax entities for the purpose of act. Company. Company includes Indian companies as well as foreign companies. It will not make any difference for private companies and public companies. Firms include all the partnership firms. Association of person. Association of person are contractual in nature, like a joint venture agreement, if such venture not formed as a partnership or a company. Body of individuals. Body of individuals are caused due to circumstances such as joint owner of an estate, clubs, charitable trusts, etc. Local authorities. Local authorities include all municipal corporations, panchayats, cantonment boards, zilla parishads, etc. Artificial juridical person. So all the persons which do not fall in any of the specific categories from 1 to 6 fall under artificial juridical person. Examples of persons under the Act. Example 1 discusses the nature of persons and their status under the Act. Another example, which is covered in our syllabus, is what nature of persons will be taxed as individuals. So, here, if we see, we have X, Y, Z, a minor actor, and a municipal commissioner. As mentioned earlier, every person will be liable to tax for his own income. Accordingly, X, Y, Z, minor actor, and municipal commissioner, which form part of serial number 1 to 5, would be liable to tax for their own income. Further, since they are individuals, they would be taxed as individuals. However, if we see serial number 6, that is Municipal Commissioner of Mumbai, in respect of income of municipal corporation. Since municipal corporation will be a separate person under the Act, it would be liable for its own income. Accordingly, the income of municipal corporation would be taxed in the hands of municipal corporation and not in the hands of municipal commissioner. Till now, we have discussed that a person is the person liable under the Act. Now, on what is the person liable to tax under the Act? Tax on what? Tax is to be levied on the total income. Now, for this, we discuss what do we mean by income. So, income is defined under section 2, subsection 24. It includes dividend, salary, rent, capital gains, etc. Total income. Total income is defined under section 14. It specifies that gross total income is the aggregate of income computed under 5 heads of income after set off of losses. To give you all a brief background, all the income under the Act is segregated into 5 heads of income, which are income from salaries, income from house property, profits and gains from business and profession, capital gains, and income from other sources. These income form part of different chapters of the direct tax module. Till now, we have discussed who all will be the persons under the Act and on what income would they be liable to tax under the Act. Now, we are going to discuss when are these persons supposed to pay the tax. For this, we have the concept of previous year and assessment year. Previous year, as I mentioned earlier, all the definitions are covered under section 2. Section 2, subsection 34 defines previous year to mean the previous year as defined in section 3. As you would know, we have not discussed section 3 earlier. We would be discussing that now. Section 3 of the Act defines previous year to mean the financial year immediately preceding the assessment year. Financial year is a period beginning from 1st of April and ending on 31st of March. So as to understand previous year, we would have to first understand what is it meant by assessment year. Assessment year has been defined under section 2 subsection 9 of the Act. Assessment year means the period of 12 months commencing on the first day of April every year. So for example, for assessment year 2017-18, that is beginning from April 2017 and ending on March 2018, the previous year would be financial year immediately preceding the assessment year. That is why the previous year would be financial year 16-17. In case of business or profession which has been newly set up or source of income newly coming into existence, then the previous year will be from the date of setting up of business or profession or the date on which source of income newly comes into existence and ending with the said financial year. We would now be discussing a few key points for previous year and assessment year under the Act. As mentioned earlier, for the assessment year 17-18, that is from April 2017 to March 2018, the previous year will be financial year immediately preceding the assessment year, that is 2016-17. Previous year will be common for all sources of income, even if separate books of accounts are maintained for different sources of income. For example, during the year 17-18, Mr. A has earned salary of rupees 10 lakhs, income from profession of rupees 3 lakhs, and interest on bank fixed deposit of rupees 1 lakh. Therefore, for previous year 17-18, Mr. A will be liable to tax for entire income of 14 lakhs, that is 10 lakhs plus 3 lakhs plus 1 lakh, even if he would be maintaining separate accounts for all these sources of income. In case where businesses started during the year, say on 6th of September 2016, then previous year will be from 6 September 2016 to the end of the financial year, that is to 31st March 2017, and it will be taxed in assessment year 17-18. In this case, please note that it is immaterial if previous year is a period of less than 12 months. As a general principle, income earned in a previous year is taxed in the assessment year. There are certain exceptions to this rule which we would discuss subsequently. One key point discussed in our syllabus is whether a financial year could be a previous year and also an assessment year. For this, we are going to consider financial year 17-18 as an example. Now, financial year 17-18 can be a previous year as well as an assessment year. Here, it would be relevant to note that for previous year 17-18, the corresponding assessment year would be 18-19, whereas for assessment year 17-18, the previous year would be financial year immediately preceding that assessment year, that is 16-17. Exceptions to the general rule. As mentioned earlier, ordinarily income earned in a previous year is taxed in the assessment year. However, in some cases, the person is liable to pay tax on income in the same previous year in which he earns it. This exceptional cases ensures safeguard to smooth collection of income tax from a class of taxpayers who may not be traceable until the commencement of normal assessment year. Some of these exceptions are as under: income of non residents from shipping business. To give you a brief background, non residents who are in the shipping business are required to pay tax in the previous year in which they have earned the income. This is because the Indian government would not know when the non residents would come back to India to file their return of income and other tax compliances under the Act. That is why before leaving India, they are required to pay taxes. Similarly, income of persons leaving India permanently or for a long period of time and not likely to return back are also liable to tax in the previous year in which they have earned the income. Income of bodies formed for short duration for a particular event or purpose. For example, bundles which are created during, say, Ganesh Utsav or Ambedkar Jayanti and such other functions. Income of a person trying to alienate his assets with a view to avoiding payment of taxes. Income of a discontinued business is also liable in the previous year itself. Now we come to the last topic, that is, who would be an assessee under the Act. The term assessee has been defined under Section 2, subsection 7. Assessee means a person whom income tax or any other sum of money is payable under the Act. That is as good as a taxpayer. A person in respect of whom any proceedings under the Act has been taken for the assessment of his income or loss of the amount of tax payable by him or refund due to him. In short, in case where any assessment has been started against a taxpayer, that person would be considered as an assessee. Thirdly, we have a person who is assessable in respect of income of loss of another person. For example, we discussed earlier that a minor actor acting in TV commercials is also liable to income tax. However, it would not be possible for such a minor to carry out the compliances under the Income Tax Act. So, for this purpose, representative assessees have been defined. In case of the minor, his parents would be the representative assessee who would be liable to file his return of income and other tax compliances under the Act. Such persons would also be considered as assessees. Assessees also include a person who is deemed to be an assessee under the Act and an assessee in default under the Act. Thank you for watching our video. Hope this video is helpful to you in your studies. Stay awaited for our next video and do subscribe to our channel Advantage Learning Made Easy.